It's a beautiful day in this hollow earth, inside a simulation. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my cousin? Good morning, everybody! All around this hollow globe, we are here with another Shrimp for Breakfast, answering your questions that are in the YouTube comments. Holla at your boy, and I'm gonna get at you and answer these bad and good questions. All right, as you can see, today we are dripping with flexing, y'all. Look at this. This is one of the Grammy outfits. Bam! Look at that. Oh, but wait. Bam! Look at this. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Woo! Look at that. We got 3 different outfits. We're going to do full fit checks for y'all, take some pics, do some photo shoots. But I figured I'd try it on for size this morning here for breakfast. The most important meal of the day, of course, we got that strong black coffee and we got that homegrown up in the packs too. How do you do? Okay? Hope everybody is having a great, what do we got? Tuesday morning countdown, of course, to the Grammys. So we've got 2 days of events for the Grammys. We've got the nominee reception on Saturday, and then something after that, and then there's the Grammys all day Sunday, and then the after party. So I got 3 different outfits. And of course, it's this beautiful album cover that is bringing us there. The album artwork that we did for the Gravity Falls double vinyl soundtrack. Ooh. Bam. Bam. Oh, bam. Bam. And we'll do a full in-depth deep dive breakdown of this in one of these episodes, probably either this Wednesday or next Wednesday. Really diving in. And of course, we've got the Lost Forest coloring book here. Head on over to GhostshrimpGlobal.com and pick yourself up a copy. $17 pre-order. All new Ghost Shrimp personal mythology that you get to interact with. You get to color this in my most interactive work ever. Do yourself and myself a favor and order it. We're trying to put this on the bestseller list, y'all. Y'all know how we do it! From Penguin Random House, the biggest book publisher in the world. Okay? You're going to be seeing me promote that book a lot. All the way up until release. And then we're still going to be promoting. That's how we got to do it. You got to early to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. That's how you find success as an entrepreneur. All right, so we got some more fan questions out here. We missed one. At Mr. P. Kuchar asked, how long on average did it take you to design an Adventure Time background, and what software did you use to draw them? Well, like I said, I got about a dozen backgrounds a week to do for Adventure Time. I had to get them done every week. This is finished line work. So, you know, there's multiple people that do backgrounds. There's multiple people that color those backgrounds. It's all a big assembly line. What software did I use to draw them? I used just my own software of my hands and my eyes and my brain and my body. All working together. I was one of the few people doing production artwork by on paper on Adventure Time. Just because that's what I had done up to that point. The last year, I have been drawing fully digital on the Cintiq and loving it. I think there's another question about that we'll get to. But yeah, I would work on all dozen backgrounds all week. There's no phase in the process in which I'm not pushing the creativity, right? If it's an illustration, I'm penciling it, I'm inking it, I'm coloring it, right? And in my analog version of that, I'm penciling it with a pencil, inking it with a brush and liquid ink, and then scanning it into Photoshop and coloring it in there. And still kind of editing, and if something doesn't look right, paint it out, re-ink it, scan it again, or draw, or I would color in the Cintiq, and I would do some changes in the Cintiq previously to like my illustration work that way. The Adventure Time background, same thing. Drawing, I would draw those with a pencil. I would ink them with a micron for speed, dripping and inking and dipping and inking. It's like twice as long of a process. And my greatest challenge on Adventure Time was the amount of the volume of work and the pace, right? And I was able to master it. But, at first I would have to just basically freestyle the pen. I would, draw my little thumbnail if I was making it up from scratch VizDev style, or I would take the storyboard panel that I was given if we were in production mode and I was doing a production background, and I would blow it up, tape it to the back of the paper, and then you can kind of see through it, and I just kind of freestyle pen on top of that and erase with a whiteout pen as I went along. And this was to kind of in an effort to work faster, right, to like break my habit of like laboriously penciling and laboriously inking. I was like, all right, going back to high school, going straight pen on this shit, just freestyle and just go and flow, try to make as few mistakes as possible. So yeah, it took me about a week to do a dozen. Most of that was done in my apartment in North Hollywood, just smoking weed all day, getting creative, exploring. And like I said, working on them all at once so that I could leapfrog, get an idea over here, sprinkle it into a background over here. That gives me an idea that adds to this one. And all the way up until I was going to turn them in, I'm finalizing details on all of them. I'm getting layers of storytelling, right? I like to have multiple layers of storytelling in my illustrations, in my backgrounds, right? I approach backgrounds the same way that I do illustration, really. It's a different thing, but that's what I knew, and that's the way I approach it. I want each piece to be nice. I want each piece to have a little storytelling in it, little joke in it. All right. Moving along, baby. Getting these questions answered. All right, so I'm just jumping around here. We'll make sense of this all. This isn't really, okay, at Ocean NC, this isn't really a question, but I want to know more about those magical childhood forest experiences. I think these early memories explain so much about how you perceive the world, art, and people, and thus deduce your career story in so many ways. Ironically, I had a lot of my best childhood memories in the forest of Door County, Wisconsin, so I can relate. Keep it up, Shrimp. You're always welcome in my ocean. All right. Fantastic. Shrimps love the ocean. I was born in the ocean, right? I was born when I fell into the ocean and broke every bone in both my feet and my ankle and my wrist. And when I re-emerged, I was the Ghost Shrimp! So, yeah, childhood experiences, man. I grew up in Shutesbury, Massachusetts, 29 Baker Road. I grew up across the street from a intentional community, a hippie commune that was, I think, a couple 100 acres, and they had a big farm and a farmhouse, and they built all these houses with each other on the land, and some of the houses were like connected up. It was very magical and explains a lot about me, you know, kind of creating the Ghost Scouts and wanting to build my own house and wanting to create my own reality like that. I was able to catch a glimpse of that when I was a kid. We lived right across the street from the huge farm field. Quiet little dirt road, but there was like a decent amount of houses. It was almost like a rural residential vibe, you know, from I was on the zoning board here in town. Where, you know, there's houses together. They're not, you can't like look in your neighbor's window from your house, but you know, there's that, you can see the house next to you. So I lived in a very rural place, but there was a lot of kids running around the dirt road, right? We had the bus stop at the end of the road. We had they had a man-made pond down at the other end of the road with a little island in it. There was a little sweat lodge wigwam next to it. You know, we would swim at the pond. There would be people skinny dipping at the pond. You know, there was a little store up there. They made like a little co-op that was like honor system for a little while. And like all the teenagers would go and just like steal shit. And then we would sit on the roof and like drink Snapples and like eat some granola. And eventually that store got closed because too many of the kids were, I think, swiping from it. This dude named Terry, who actually opened that little co-op, was part of that, had a sweet house where he like lived in it and rented out different rooms, and then he built a basketball court, like a paved half court for all the kids in the community, and we would just, that was a hang zone. We would go hang out at Terry's court. There was this weird backstop where it was like trees that were like, it was like two stand-up tall posts that were as tall as the hoop, and then there was like trees in like every foot, like rungs that you could like climb up and sit on, and that was like the backstop to stop the ball from going back through behind the court into the woods. He had a hot tub back there. Adults would be like skinny dipping in the hot tub, and all the kids would be playing, and he let all the neighborhood kids build skate ramps, or like maybe he helped build them too, I don't know. But in my mind, these older kids, Gabe and Shanti, they built and Aaron, they built the skate ramps, and they would be skateboarding, and we'd all be shooting hoops or playing whatever. I remember I broke my first bone. I broke my finger on one of those skate ramps one day, and I like ran home and I was like, Mom, I broke my finger. And she was like, all right, get in. She was like loading my little brother to go to the doctor for something else. She's like, all right, jump in. Like, we were just really you know, just a wild pack of kids that were, you know, loose in the forest. I said there was the monk's cave in my backyard, right? This indigenous burial chamber with this tree growing out the top of it. Actually, it is the, you know, y'all know I'm into the power of personal mythology. This is a depiction of the monk's cave right on the front of the Lost Forest coloring book, right? Supercharged with personal mythology. You know, that's where the truly most unique and powerful artistic creative magic comes from. We would ride the bus to school. I had an assigned seat on the bus. They made me stay back in kindergarten at Shutesbury Elementary School because I was just such a spaz, and I was on the younger side, August birthday, so I like just turned 5. I was the youngest kid in the class. They made me stay back. They gave me the class hamster, this albino guinea pig. It was a guinea pig, not a hamster. This albino guinea pig, Snowball. This big white old friggin' looked like a fucking grinder made of snow with these fucking satanic red eyes. And Snowball was my homie for a while. Made me stay back in kindergarten. I had a assigned seat on the bus in kindergarten because I was such a hooligan on the bus. I was just a classic hyperactive child, like ADHD to the max, you know, just like vibrating, can't sit still, just bugging out, having fun. If there's fun to be had, I'm going to have it. That's my attitude, you know, especially the more boring the circumstance. Like, this is how ADHD works. You know, at that time, and especially in middle school and high school, they're hammering you. Just like, it's a learning disability. You have a disability, right? But for me, ADHD was always my superpower. It's like, if something's boring, you're just going to find a way to entertain yourself. You're just going to fucking have a good time either way. And, you know, if you are, interested by something, you have infinite ability to focus. You have hyper focus. You're super interested. You can sit there forever, right? It's the thing that has made me successful in real life, right? There's nothing real life about school. School is, you know, this program where they teach you how to take instruction and be quiet, right? To sit down and be quiet. That's what they teach you in school. And I never learned that lesson. I still don't know it. And I just have a disposition that refuses to be broken in that way, you know. And we would just climb trees. I remember there was this tall white pine tree. They grow like, you know, 70, 80 feet tall. We have a bunch of them out here. You know, we would have contests to see who could climb the highest in that tree. And one time there was like a porcupine up there. I remember that. And the older kids just would always wait till you went as high as you could manage to go. Like, you're so scared. You're like 60 feet up in a tree and you're like 7 years old. And then they just go one branch higher, you know, and just to dunk on you. They'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, it wasn't anything to them. But then, you know, you'd get old enough and you go up to the top of that tree and you'd be holding on like this and you're peeking your head up. And then up there, it's like swaying back and forth. The wind is going up that high and you're just, and you just can't wait to get back down that tree, you know. Just, you know, there was old logging roads. You know, all of New England was logged a couple hundred years ago, and there's continued like logging in various parts and regrown forests and old logging trails. We would just follow the logging trails for miles in the woods. When it was wintertime, I would get out on those cross-country skis and just ski alone in the woods, just explore in the woods in a way that you can't do when it's not snow, because, you know, you could get turned around, maybe you get lost. You know, there was miles of woods back there. And you'd get on those skis and you could always follow your tracks back. As long as the forest spirits, you know, didn't want to mess with you, you could always follow your tracks back. And like I said, I had recurring dreams of that, of circular pathways leading back to the monk's cave. That's so much of my own magic. I really think that when I went into that burial chamber, I was you know, I was being imbued with energies from that place, with spirits from that place, right? Spent a lot of time playing in those woods. My dad built this 2-story tree house on the edge of the woods in our backyard. I remember one time, like, we had a llama tied up in our backyard for a while. Like, one of our neighbors, like, had a llama and didn't have, like, or, like, someone we knew in the community, like, needed a place for their llama. And, like, we had this stand of birch trees in the middle of our backyard. And there was, like, a llama tied up there for a while. And if you went near it, it would, like, spit at you. I remember that. I remember we let this lady and her deaf daughter like live in our basement for a while in my older brother's room. He had moved out and before I moved in, I guess, and they stayed down there for a while. It was a really cool place to grow up. You know, we would one time we picked all these vegetables from the garden and filled an army-sized duffel bag with them, me and my fucking bad kids friend Zach, and we walked all like a mile down and then like went like just like a bit down his road and climbed up one of those giant white pines and were just bombing fucking fruits and vegetables on cars. And then his mom, you know, I've told this in the podcast, his mom, when we got back, his mom was like, where were you guys? What were you guys doing? And we're like, oh, nothing. And she was like, well, a guy just pulled into the driveway here in a convertible, and he had an apple explode on his head. Like, it just, like, disintegrated on his head. You're just driving down the road, and, like, fucking an apple just fucking boom! Like, we would do a lot of stuff like that. We actually got caught for that one, and I think Zach got caught. He was like going back. I forget what he was doing. He was with that bag of vegetables. Maybe, I think he was going back to try to get rid of the evidence, like, and go back to the garden or something, back to the scene of the crime. Never go back to the scene of the crime. And this old lady, Linda, this like ancient old lady from that ran the community, that was one of the leaders of the community, caught him. And she was like Mr. McGregor, like fucking in Peter Rabbit, you know. She was Conor McGregor out there. And she nabbed him, and we got busted because we lied our way through his mom, and then we got busted later on. as the universe wants. And our punishment was to turn compost piles. They had these giant stalls of compost by the garden, and we had to turn compost, and we had to make pickles. We had to make dill pickles, but then we also got to keep the pickles that we made. So like, that's tight, man. They should let hippies run the world, you know? I mean, you know, there would be some sacrifices, but overall, you know, it would probably be a lot more amicable. That was really fun. And yeah, just community nights. I remember, like, you know, we weren't official members of the community, but we were kind of unofficial members, and we would have everybody over for parties, fucking Halloween parties. We had a big old basement, finished basement that was a playroom, and I remember bobbing for apples down there and going out to that monk's cave, and my dad had it all set up and telling spooky stories out there. And we always had, like, I mean, everybody seemed to have a lot of cool toys back then, like Legos and action figures. It was the 80s, right? This is my stint in Shutesbury was 1980 to 1992. You know, technically I lived in an apartment in Amherst, Massachusetts till I was 3. And then when we were 3, we moved to Shutesbury on Baker Road, out in the sticks, and then lived there till I was 12. And everybody had amazing toys. You know, we did a couple podcasts with Scott C talking a lot about 80s toys, G.I. Joes, all that good stuff. Everybody had epic toys. Some of the hippie kids weren't allowed to watch screens. Some of them were. Trick-or-treating was wild. Some houses would give out candy. Some houses would give out, like, carob and, like, toothbrushes and, like, weird hippie fucking whatever, you know. They built this 2-story playground with zero supervision out in the middle of the woods with, like, this rope swing that you'd swing way out and, like, you'd have to swing back on and, like, get to the platform and not get pulled off the platform. You know, it was very, like, unsupervised. You know, we were out there doing a lot of wild shit. You know, me and my friend once allegedly, you know, came across behind this trailer park, this dude's, like, car garage that was, you know, built this garage, and we found a wrench and broke in, taking the locks off of the door, and went in and, like, rooted through all the stuff in there and then put the lock back on the door. And then there was a logging truck parked back there. We let all the air out of, like, all 18 wheels in the logging truck, and then there was a car up on blocks. We, like, picked up a rock and smashed the fucking windshield out of the car. Like, we were like, this is when I was like 11. And then later on, we were walking back there again. I had, like, this fake shotgun, like this Terminator 2 shotgun. So I guess this was like 12 years old. Yeah, 11, 12 years old. I moved the summer when I was 12. So yeah, maybe 11 years old, and the old man. It was the grandfather of someone I went to school with. I feel like it was allegedly Sarah Puffer's grandfather, and we were back there again, checking it out again. Never go back to the scene of the crime. Like, fucking, we were confronted, and he was like, "What are you kids doing here? Have you ever been back here before?" And I was like, "No, we've never been here before." I was like, "We're just walking around exploring in the woods. We just came across this place." And, like, he probably totally knew we were lying, but, you know, stick to your story and they got to let you go. So I was always good at that. One time me and David Parker were underneath this bridge in this giant culvert, and we were fooling around, and, like, I got hit with something and, like, fell in the water and almost got knocked out in the river. And then, like, we were taking our socks off. Like, of course my mom was like, I wore my mom's socks, and she's like, "Don't lose my socks." And then I fucking took the socks off, and one just went down the river, and I used to always think about where it went, into the Quabbin Reservoir, which was, like, the water source for the area. I used to always picture trying to find it. I felt so bad. You're like a kid, you feel so guilty. Oh yeah, and, like, you know, there was this little pond in the middle. There was this tiny little, like, just a pool, like a maybe a 8-foot little paved pool that was like a little frog thing in the middle of the hippie garden. And there was frogs in there. And one day I was, like, throwing rocks at a frog, and I hit one, and then it, like, surfaced up, and its eye was, like, all popped out and bloody, and it was dead, and I felt, like, so bad. And then another time I, like, tried to get a frog through, like, there's the cinder blocks that have two channels, then there's the cinder blocks that have 4 channels. Those are cut in half, and I tried to get a frog to go through one once, and it got stuck, and we couldn't get it out. If we tried to get it out, it would like ripped it to shreds, and so I tried to feed it flies and stuff, and it got stuck in there and died. I felt super bad about that. Felt really guilty about that. I know I've told all these stories on the pod. I'm trying to, we've got to do a deeper dive, try to find some new memories in here. Just riding bikes around the paved hill up by the farmhouse. And then one time I was whipping down the paved road from the farmhouse, the paved hill. And with both my feet on top of my tires, I thought, oh, I could just stop it like my brakes. I put my feet on top, and like I put my feet on top, and I'm buzzing down the hill, and of course they immediately get spun around and pulled into the spokes, and my feet, you know, are in the spokes and hit the fork of the front fork, and I go flying head over heels into the pavement, bam, like grinding my face on the pavement, and the bike comes up behind me and slams my head into the pavement. If that happened to me now, I would just fucking die. And but I just like got up and like rode home, and I was fucking fine. You know, another time at Tony Matusko's house, I did knock myself out. He had a waterbed, and we used to like punch each other on the playground. We used to have like punching matches and like give each other bloody noses all the time. Shout out to Tony Matusko. And fucking we were using his dog run as a fucking zip line, and climbed up a dog to this doghouse and zip lining down. But then you're holding on to just that cord, that like, I don't know if it was just metal back then, the drop for the zip line, or if it was, you know, when we have them now for the dogs, they have like a plastic coating on them to keep them from getting rusty. Back then they were probably just the metal. And I was holding that, and I slipped, so I'm like coming down, and I just remember the ground going boom, and I blacked out, and then I woke up just like on his kitchen table, and his parents were above me, like he must have run in, and I was just like fucking dead on the ground, and they brought me in and woke me up, and then my mom came to get me, and Tony gave me like a bunch of toys. Like I remember he gave me this little dog that was like in this little crate, this little cool crate. It was like not a pound puppy, but maybe a little mini pound puppy or something. And then there were some other toys, and then I took them home, and then my mom made me give them back. My parents were always like that. Like if you stole something, they would make you bring it back. If someone gave you something, they'd make you give it back, or they'd have to make sure the trade was fair. Like my little brother would come over, and I'd try to hustle his friends for like, everybody would bring their baseball cards and basketball cards and an album, and like the older kids in the neighborhood would definitely hustle me on trades for like G.I. Joes and all this stuff. And then I would try to hustle my little brother's friends for shit, and then my parents got savvy to it, and they would try to monitor the trades, but like they didn't know what anything was worth. Like we would just be like, oh, I'd be like, oh, this is a fair trade, and they'd be like, all right. So, but yeah, it was very idyllic. The childhood, just growing up in the forest, you know, limited screen time. You know, we didn't have cable TV. We would just watch cartoons in the basement and get up early on Saturday to get more in before my parents got up. You know, we'd have an hour, but then we'd be like, we just got up. And like, they obviously knew, but yeah, and it was just epic, man. We had that wood stove down there. You know, there was a big hearth, and you could like split kindling on there. There was an axe down there for splitting. I remember one time I like pretended I went psycho, and I was like pretending to like, you know, attack my friend with an axe, and he got. We were like, I don't know if he had seen The Exorcist or whatever and told me about it, and I pretend I was possessed, and he really thought I was, and he got super freaked out. Shout out Seth. Then one time, like me and this girl, I remember me and my neighbor like showed each other this girl. We had the same birthday, the exact same day. We were the same age, and we showed each other our private parts. Like I showed her my penis, and she showed me her vagina, like outside the house one day. And we were just like, cool, just like checking it out. And then inside, I remember this other girl that I was friends with, like, we were, like, messing around, showing each other our private parts, and I, like, jumped, I, like, had this mini boner, and I, like, jumped on the couch, and we were singing songs about it, and I was like, dick sticks up like castle, and we were just, like, singing songs about our privates and shit. Nothing, like, sexual about it, because we weren't, like, at that mode yet, you know, we were just, like, feeling it out, figuring it out, metaphorically feeling it out. You know, it's funny, as a parent, like, those things would set off alarm bells. Like, the other day, you know, Junie was having a bunch of friends over, and I hear them all squealing in the bathroom, and I open the curtain, and they're, like, all naked in the fucking bathroom together, like, 3 girls, and they're, like, you know, 8-year-olds, and, you know, I was like, okay, I was like, babe, you should come check this out, you know, and, you know, so you're like, what the fuck, but then I remember as a kid, it's like, you know, that's the age you're at, you know, that's about the same age I was at, you know, just figuring it out, you know. Trying to think what else in those woods, you know, just really having fun, getting threatened on the playground. I mean, one time Gabe fucking, like, threatened me with, like, a table knife, this older kid, at the bus stop. And then I remember my older brother Dorian came with me the next day. He was, like, older. He was, like, 11 years older than me, so he was, like, out of school. And he came the next day and, like, threatened them. They stopped. That was epic. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. It was great. I mean, I guess we're at the end of this one anyway, but great question. So yeah, you can really see how it influences it, how it influenced the whole vibe of Adventure Time, the whole vibe of, if you checked out that rare drawing set of drawings, my crypto drawings on Foundation, that's very much, like, right out of that childhood mythology right there. You know, so much of my work just comes right out of there, but there we go. Another freaking breakfast with shrimp. That one just flew by. Checking out these Grammy fits. I'm gonna post some more pictures of this outfit. I'm still waiting for the shoes for this. I got a sick pair of classic black and red Jordan 1s that go with this. So stay tuned. We are rocking and rolling. We're going to the Grammys together, baby. Let's fucking go!